Good afternoon from Central Michigan University. I hope everyone is doing well today. My name is Allison Smalley, and I work in advancement and with alumni relations here at CMU on campus. I'd like to welcome you to today's campus conversation. We'll be talking about InSciTE. A couple of things to go over before we hand it over to Dean Ford. Everyone is muted. That's just for feedback. In case we have any feedback issues, we do encourage you to turn on your camera if you feel comfortable. If not, that's fine too. I know some people are eating their lunch right now. Please feel free to use the raise your hand function or the chat function throughout the presentation. We would like this to be a two-way conversation if possible. So please don't feel like you have to wait until the end. And you are more than welcome though to wait till the end of the presentation to ask questions. We will have time for that. At the end of the presentation, when we all sign off, I will send everyone a recording of this campus conversation that has registered along with a survey and also the slide deck. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dean Ford.
Excellent. Thanks, Allison. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. So thanks everybody for being here. I'll echo Allison's thanks for being with us today. We really appreciate your time and your interest in talking with us and learning what's going on in this fantastic program called InSciTE. I know we only have 57 minutes left, so I should only speak for maybe 55 of those minutes. So I'll try to make it brief. I started as dean almost 3 years ago here, and I came in with admittedly somewhat of a vague notion that a program that I knew about that had built success at another university that I had been with in bringing students together across different disciplines and sharpening their skills, not just within their discipline, but in the skills that they'll need to communicate across disciplines, would be something that would be a good fit at CMU, and particularly in the College of Science and Engineering. So I started having conversations with folks about this to test out this idea and see, how it would fit. And some of you are the folks that I've had these conversations with, and you've all helped this to grow. But by far the most important conversation I had, as it turns out, is with Dr. Pangle, who ended up being the director of this program. And I could see the passion that she had for interdisciplinary science, for giving students the skills and the leadership opportunities that they need in order to be successful when they leave here from CMU. And I could see that she really ran with this idea, and it took fire, and she gathered a bunch of like-minded faculty and like-minded students together and built a program in a way that is completely different from anything else I've known and the way that we traditionally build programs. And now, a couple years in, when they've recruited their second cohort of students now, and I've been talking with these fantastic students and the faculty who are involved with this program, I'm just amazed at the various dimensions of their success. They've taken this in directions that I didn't imagine at the time, and that are absolutely fantastic. And so I'm so excited to have Waleen and a couple of our current students here today to talk to you in more detail about this program. So without further ado, I'm gonna thank those of you who have supported this program, thank those who are new here today to this conversation for coming in and joining us, and turning it over to Waleen and the students to talk about InSciTE and where we are and where we're headed.
Thank you, Dean Ford, and thank you all for being here. And I'm hoping you can hear me well as well. And I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see. Right, I'm hoping you can all see. And I'm delighted to be talking to you all today, a little bit about InSciTE, and I will try to not go over time. For those of you that know me, I can talk about InSciTE all day. My family is really happy I get to do this with you and a little less with them. But Dave alluded a little bit to the creation of InSciTE. It was a couple of years ago, and we put together a consortium of faculty that all had the same kind of desire for an interdisciplinary program. You can see all their pictures here. It is who has become our InSciTE Interdisciplinary Council. And I could not run this program and have done all the work that you're about to see without them. And so they all deserve a lot of credit. So this is back January 2022. I remember the first meeting like it was yesterday, where we started to talk about what would we want. And it was obvious from the get-go that we wanted something that was what I'm going to call skill-based. And so InSciTE is a certificate. It's a series of classes students take. And the end goal is for our students to pick up skills on collaboration, conflict resolution, critical thinking, communication, and data and project management. And so those were the things we felt were from all the departments that make up our College of Science and Engineering. And the collaboration that happened between faculty to create this program is unlike anything I've been a part of. First of all departments were represented and people were eager for meetings, which if you know academians, they typically don't like to meet. And within 4 months, we had the bones of what became InSciTE. I think I'm not going to bore you too much with kind of the nuts and bolts behind, but I think it's important that we read you the mission of what we're doing because it really guides about every decision that we take. And so our mission, and I'm going to move my little screen so I can actually read it. Here we go. Is to create an equitable, student-driven environment for undergraduate students to develop skills on interdisciplinary communication, collaboration, and real-world problems to become culturally competent and effective leaders. And the decisions that we take are centered on what I call our 5 pillars, our 5 core values. And I look at these every single week when we make decisions, whether it's curriculum, whether it's finances, and they rely on equity, relevance to real-world problems, learner-centered, and we'll talk more about that today, collaboration, and creative problem solving. So what does it look like for students? They get to take 5 classes with us as what we call a cohort model. And so students join us in the fall. A typical students would start in the fall at CMU. We give them a semester to kind of figure out what they like, and then we recruit them to start the spring of their freshman year in the first InSciTE class. And then every spring thereafter, they're going to be with us for 1 course. And so their second spring, we built on the first class. I was really anchored on collaboration and STEM identity. And then we really talk about communication. The third class is what we call a data class, where they pick up STEM data class. And then our last year on campus for traditional students, it's a fall and spring capstone-like class where the students run a fully independent research project as a team. We have opportunities for transfer students to join or for students that maybe decide, you know what, first year wasn't true, but I want to join as a second year student. And so they can do what we call double up. They can take 2 at once. And we have a lot of flexibility built in. So what does it look like? Well, when we say we are kind of reinventing STEM education, which is the bits I want to highlight today, is that we decided, well, we're teaching skills and we're letting students bring in the content. And so we have students from physics, from chemistry, from biology, and they're going to be the experts in our room on these topics. And we're going to let them drive the content of research projects they can run with us. We'll support them with scaffold. But when we say student-driven, it's at a whole other level than what I've ever done, right? And so we really are letting them pick that decision on research, and then we teach the skills, okay? Right? How do we practice doing STEM, give them a safe space to fail and try it out without necessarily consequences? It also levels out the playing field for our students in that we provide the space where they can try things out no matter what background they've had. And so the framework is pretty strong, and class time actually looks like the pictures you're seeing up here. And I have really a bunch of slides as an excuse to show you student pictures. I call it workshop style. We don't ever lecture. It's not, we don't learn how to do science by listening to someone talking about science. We learn by doing, and students need to do that, especially the very beginning, right? They have a passion for something that's driving them to university and a STEM field, and we want to let them explore that from the get-go as they're taking prerequisites courses that can be challenging, that are often in larger lecture halls, right? And so this is kind of an offset a little bit. And so you can see they present posters, they give a lot of presentations, learn how to pitch, how to sell an idea. And so again, right, very non-traditional model. Some of you may have heard the word active learning classroom. And so there's in these spaces, this is our classroom. You can see all the tables around, and students are doing things in groups, learning how to work with each other in diverse teams, valuing all the diverse inputs that they have, and faculty become more facilitators in this space. You can see Dr. Francek right here with some of our students, a lot of discussions so that we can actually learn these skills that we are saying we're teaching. We center all of our classes around 2 projects we call deliverables, very concrete things that students can actually put in a resume, whether it's a presentation, a poster, a prototype. And so you can see again some of our students engaged in these student projects. And we don't tell them what they should study, right? Again, they are driving the boat in terms of what is exciting them in these fields. The teams are always interdisciplinary. And so, you know, in the table you have here on the right, you have a computer science student, a biologist, a STEM educator, and I think it was a physicist at the back. And so, and they have to figure out how do we work together, how do we resolve conflicts, so that we can get to our concrete result at the end. We call this model non-punitive in that there are no -5, your work is an hour late, as we may see in other more structured lecture-based classes. Students as a team have every week tasks they have to deliver, or they turn in what we call a progress report. So we're trying also to parallel with real world what they would actually do in the workforce. And these progress reports are a chance for instructors, we co-teach these things as well, to give feedback, provide support, figure out, oh, you know, have you thought about talking to this person along the way? And so it's a lot of feedback instead of your kind of traditional grading. I thought I'd introduce you to some students. And so you can see here our 2 cohorts. Our 2023 cohort was our pioneer group, the ones that took a chance on us when we were still kind of building the plane. You can still see a large diversity. We had 12 different majors represented. And then you can see on the right, our latest cohort, they are taking InSciTE 1 right now, the very first course. We are slowly ramping up. I believe we have a capacity of about maybe 70-ish students, and we're increasing the number of majors that are represented in there. And I wanted to show you just glimmers of our demographics. I can also talk about demographics all day, and I'll try very hard to keep it to this. But these programs, we said, you know, one of our pillars was equity. And I'm very proud that we are attracting the students that we were hoping we would attract. We have a wonderful honors program on campus. And our goal was not to replicate our honors program, but actually to provide pathways for research for students that might not think they can do it or identify right away as scientists, or say would do maybe what I would call a selecting out before they try, right? Think, oh, maybe I don't belong here, maybe that's not for me, and providing these students with opportunities. And so you can see overwhelmingly our students are historically marginalized in STEM fields. We have a fairly broad racial groupings of memberships, a little bit broader than our college on its own. About a quarter of our students are first generation, and so college is brand new to them with maybe less support system than a traditional student, and a lot of obstacles along the way. And so you can see here, 40% of our students have some kind of disability. And I actually believe this is probably an underrepresentation because some things are hard to put on a piece of paper. But I can talk about them like this, but I thought it'd be more fun for you to meet some of them. And so I have two of our students from our Pioneer cohort with me that I wanted to introduce to you. And I'm going to switch my computer so you can see them. They're right here with me. Here we go. And we'll start maybe we've had Morgan, and then I'm gonna give you the floor, Morgan. Maybe we'll make it just a little closer. Here we go. Hello, my name is Morgan Mussel, and I'm a second year at Central, and I study neuroscience. I would say there are a lot of really big ideas that I've learned in InSciTE. A lot of things that I was never accustomed to that I realize that I'm holding on to very tightly now because I realize how much I'm learning so fast. One really big thing that I noticed as soon as I stepped into the classroom was the atmosphere change. What I mean by that is going through all of my like K through 12, I was never an outgoing student. I would never raise my hand. I would never think, oh yeah, like my idea matters. My thoughts have value. But here I find myself my first year of college, second semester, and I can raise my hand. Like it's not a problem. It's really nice to know that that community is built around honoring every thought and every opinion that goes into just collaboration, working on a project, or just making sure everyone is heard. And I think that's a really wonderful thing, especially in your first year of college when you're so worried about everything else that's going on around you. And to have that environment, but also coexist with your passions in science is a very good duo. Another thing that I definitely value is being able to collaborate freely with other people. And doing that, I'm able to recognize now through our previous group work and our previous projects and deliverables what other people's strengths and weaknesses are. So kind of how Dr. Pangle was talking about the demographics. A lot of us, I think, tend to place people to their majors. So whether you're in the College of Science and Engineering or you're not, we identify based on our major. But when you look at InSciTE, it's not just the major. Each person has their own story and they're each valued in a different way. And through our group projects, I can kind of see, okay, well, when we talk about this a little deeper, you are really, really good at communicating this idea effectively. And I'm really, really good at writing down everything that you say. And the next person's really good at displaying the data and knowing where to put it in a graph. So it's really learning how to like work with each person, especially in different majors. Because I think that's a really, really valuable thing to have, especially in higher education, like moving on to grad school and stuff like that, knowing how to work with different grad students or professors and stuff like that. And then my last little tidbit is that we're able to do science. So we're not reading research papers on endless homework questions or just looking or watching. We're actually doing it. I think I was very, very pleased with myself being able to, what in my picture actually, present a poster. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world to have something physical, something tangible to represent that what we've been working on. And it's being able to have the ability to be curious. So all of my first semester in college, prereqs, second semester, mostly prereqs, even now, there's still a little bit more until I get hands-on to like into my personal research projects. But we're able to use our curiosity and then build it with other majors and realize how endless science is. And I think that's a really, really strong thing to have, especially as an undergrad, especially like in your first year of college, because now I know how many more things I can speculate and question and get excited to be able to answer. Thank you, Morgan. And then it's Daniel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm a computer engineering student and mathematics at CMU. I'm a sophomore. And when you're at a university of this scale, it's really easy to like just think you're a number. And something that's fantastic about InSciTE is there are faculty in every department. There are like math, biology, physics. It doesn't matter. There's always a person where they know me and I know them. Like if I need help, I know I can reach out to that professor, and it doesn't matter. They'll do whatever they can to help me. And it even goes as far as like the dean's office. I know Dean Ford and the associate deans, Dr. Gluritz and Dr. Teisner, know me by name and face. And even like Dr. Laritz helped me get a job over the summer, which is still crazy to me. But at the end of the day, I think InSciTE is the only class I have that really matters, because I can like go to the library and read a textbook on calculus 3 and like gradients, or I can go into the electronics labs and like practice the theory that we're doing in circuit analysis, but I can't Google how to communicate. I can't like, there's no way to learn collaboration and these communication concepts without actually doing it. And like ultimately, what Walene is doing with this program is, which is infinitely harder than any of these engineering concepts, is teaching collaboration. And I really think that is what makes InSciTE special.
Thank you. All right. Morgan and Daniel are going to stay around. So if you have questions for them, don't hesitate. You can put them in the chat, or we'll make sure that they get a chance to answer your questions as well. We have a few more things we wanted to share with you. And so we're not, well, I mean, I'm a researcher, I'm a biologist by training. And so of course, if I'm gonna help direct a program like InSciTE, I'm gonna collect data along the way, report back, make sure that we're actually doing what we say we're gonna do, figure ways to capture even cultural changes that may be happening in our college because of InSciTE. And so I wanted to kind of give you glimmers of what we're doing. This is just the very beginning, we're in year 2. But some of the examples are things like this. When students first apply to join InSciTE, they complete a survey and they ask using the image below. And the image is a bunch of these little bubbles that you see at the bottom left of your screen. They have to select the picture that best describes the current overlap of the image they have of themselves and the image of what they think a STEM professional is. And so there's a whole gradient from there is no overlap between what they think a STEM professional is and their own vision of themselves to a complete overlap. And before the course started, and this is collapsing the results from both of our first cohorts, and so the 2023, 2024, this is what we have, is that orange line that you see, the pre-course. So some students don't see themselves as STEM professionals, some still already do, really strongly identify with a little bit of everything in between. And what's pretty exciting is after just one course, just InSciTE 1, we already see a pretty drastic shift with most students gaining about one category, right? So if they thought they kind of had a medium overlap, after one InSciTE class, they see that a little bit more of an overlap. What I thought was particularly exciting is the largest growth by far was seen in our students that are historically marginalized and quite deeply historically marginalized, because you can have multiple factors that marginalize you in STEM. And you can see kind of that shift, right? The students are starting to see, hey, I can do this. And so those are ways that we capture what we're doing there. And as we continue to collect data, we're going to follow our students, see where they go. I'll have more to report as we continue. What does emerge, no matter what we look at, is that InSciTE is transformative for both students and faculty. And I just want to talk a minute about the experiences I would have as a faculty member in biology in a traditional lecture hall classroom. We all know when we teach that sometimes by just random good luck, we say the right thing at the right time to the right student. Maybe they just happen to show up when and we said something during office hours that really resonated with them, and we can see it like, yes, I helped that student. Or maybe we say the one thing in lecture that they needed to hear that day. But it remains what I would call accidental, right? And then if I'm lucky, maybe I reach 10% of my students out of 100. What we do in InSciTE is it's intentional. We do that for every single student. And what ends up happening is the faculty are also quite impacted and maybe start to see, hey, I can do this in all of my other classes. And start to think about ways that they can review. Maybe we don't need quite as strict, I don't know, deadlines. Maybe we can say, hey, you can turn things a day late without the penalty, because we're seeing that who that affects most, these strong penalties, tends to be our marginalized students. And so it's really what seems to be emerging from all the data. We get to take our students in all kinds of professional development opportunities. You can see them here on this slide. We took the whole Pioneer group to a professional development workshop on Beaver Island last fall, where we got to really flesh out some of these things, and then, train our faculty as well on what are equitable practices in the classroom. What does that look like? And we model and we practice. And so that really is, I think, what emerges for me, and that makes me really proud of the work we do. I wanted to give you a glimmer too of what's happening now. What are we doing currently? President Davies made me promise to say, no matter who I talk to, the top bullet point, that we have 100% retention of our InSciTE students at CMU. Not necessarily with us. We've lost a couple going from from class 1 to class 2, but I would say for the best of reasons. For instance, we had a student realize after the first class that they're not a STEM major, and they actually were a music performance major. And to me, that's a success story. If we can help a student figure out their pathway quickly, not year 3, right? That's good. And so, but so far they're all still at CMU. We are currently teaching the first 2 classes, so InSciTE 1 and 2 are currently going, as in this semester. It's grant season, and so we are submitting large federal grants to help us support some of these efforts, including the research that we're conducting. And we are emerging a bit of as a flagship program for CSC, both when we are recruiting students to CMU, but also when we talk across CMU about some of these initiatives that we're doing. You can see here one of our faculty in InSciTE, Dr. Mueller, recruiting our current cohort of students last fall. We we love our donors. I know some of you are here, and I want to thank you for your generous donations to CMU. And I wanted to talk about how do we spend the donations that we receive. There are multiple ways. One of them is we started what we call resource cabinets. And so we've noticed that our students, right, I have to make choices that are hard financially. And so we started to say, well, we can provide some of these things. And so the students in InSciTE have a student lounge. It's keyed, so only our students can go in. They all have the code, and they get to work in that space. It's a collaborative space. There are blackboards, whiteboards, tables, and then we put a microwave, and we put a big cabinet with all kinds of dry foods. The food pantry is there on campus, but it's far. It has odd hours, and it requires a lot of pride to go fill a bag, right? It's very visual. And we thought, well, we can do something that's more private, where our students can request things they want. And that includes things like feminine products, right? And things that we know they all need and can really add up. And so that's what we use. And they are used heavily. And so I'm very happy that the resources we're putting for our students in place are getting used. We also awarded our first 10 scholarships in January this year, and that was entirely based on financial needs. And we are hoping to continue that so that it's a course, right? InSciTE remains embedded in academics, and so it's a class, and like everything has tuition. And we would like to cover as many of the course fees or course tuition as we can for as many students as we can. And then professional development experiences like the one you saw a few pictures of for Beaver Island are key for cohort building, for training, to make sure our students are career ready. And so that's the other big bucket that we've used financial donations for. But I also wanted to point out in closing that there are other ways we love to get help. And so financial, yes, it always helps. But we also welcome other opportunities. A lot of you here have mentored in the past, and we love to pair up our students with mentors, whether it's in the classroom. You can come, you can see here, Colonel Bacon last year came and talked with our students about some of the overlap that he found with our ROTC and InSciTE program. We've had all kinds of people come, and some of you have a lot of expertise that you may share or opportunities for our students. And so time is valuable. We value your time, and we welcome any ways that we can, kind of fold you in what we're doing. I put my contact information at the bottom. If you want to reach out directly, you certainly can, or you can go through the advancement office. And look at that, it's 12:30. That's the size I have. I want to make sure we have lots of time for questions, both for me and for Daniel and Morgan. And so I'm going to open up the floor. And Allison, I don't know how you want to do this. I can't see hands when I present. So maybe I can stop presenting and I may see all of you again.
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, here we go.
Perfect. Let's see. I have a couple of questions. Do you foresee having to turn any students away because of cohort size or anything like that in the future by chance? Or what is your thought? What are your thoughts on that moving forward?
Many thoughts. So right now, I am happy that we haven't gotten to the point where we have to become a gated program. We still have more room than we have students, and we're building, right? The people, when they join CMU, often have not heard of us. We're fairly new. I don't know. So I'm guessing next year we'll start to be closer to capacity, which as I mentioned, we think is 75 students. If we start to have more interest than we have room for, then Dean Ford and I start to have to talk about, okay, what can we do? We really want to make sure that those opportunities are for all. And if the interest is higher, and if people really do value what we're doing, then maybe we have to start thinking about how can we make sure every student that joins our college has access to this. And so I think it's a future discussion, but one that's very exciting to have.
Thank you. Erica Harris, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to ask a few questions. So I'm a CMU alumni, and I'm looking to ask how can alumni support from their local communities. So I'm thinking, I heard that Walina mentioned mentorship opportunities, and I have a focus on the arts piece, the human-centric piece to align the student success. So I know this is about STEM, but with STEAM, there's an art piece that incorporates some of those soft skills. So are there opportunities to apply, or how can I get involved?
Well, I love what you're saying. I think indeed there's a lot of overlap between all the, the STEAM STEM worlds can definitely, talk a lot with each other. Maybe you and I should talk and flesh out kind of what you're envisioning, what are opportunities, and see how we can best collaborate moving forward. And
Thank
so
you.
my first suggestion is shoot me a quick email, or leave me your name in the chat somewhere, and I can make sure to reach out.
Okay, I did actually look you up on LinkedIn as you were chatting, and I hit follow, but I'll send you a message there. Also, my thinking was to incorporate, I'm a research professional, by experience. So I was thinking to incorporate trials that gives, students the hands-on experience for those that are unsure to collect, career success indicators. Yep. So I heard you mention, some students transitioned out because they were more in tune with music and things like that. So that would be a piece that I think will help with, the retention and the transitioning and things like that. So thank you for the offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Erica. We have a question in the chat. Dr. Pangle, what is the additional cost each student takes on for the InSciTE program?
So it's not necessarily additional. I mean, it's a course. And so they would have the tuition cost. It's a 3-credit class. Our credits for our Michigan residents runs around $500 a credit. So it's about $1,500 a course. But they would still count towards the total degree. So a student to graduate from CMU needs 120 credits. And so while our course, so the 3 credits of InSciTE would go towards an elective like credits. So it goes towards that total goal. We are working hard so that our classes do what we call a double count, that they can start to help towards general education credits, in that there's some overlap. For instance, there's requirements to take, let's say, quantitative reasoning classes to be as part of your general requirements, and our data, our InSciTE 3, our data class is very heavy on data. And so you can see here, we can make that count for the quantitative reasoning to lessen the burden, the financial burden that a whole InSciTE certificate would impose on students. Does that help? Oh, that was a chat question.
That was a chat question. That came from Joe, so hopefully that, I think we should be good. Can you share the contact information for Dr. Pangle? Yes, I will. I will share that contact information in the chat, and we will also send you the slides. So you'll have that in your email tomorrow as well. Does anyone else have additional questions? Oh, Erica, please go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just giving a plug for your response that you'll share contact information, but I'm really excited to get involved as an alumni, and I thank you for the presentation today.
Thanks, Erica. It's so much fun to share.
Dean Ford, I have a question for you. We have seen, obviously, great success with the InSciTE program. Do you foresee your college in particular, or CMU in general, introducing more programs like InSciTE?
Thanks. Great question. I do. I think this really has generated a lot of buzz on campus. I know my colleagues as deans are talking about ways that they can do programs like this. I would like to put in a plug for one of my colleagues, Dean Richard Rothis, I believe is having a campus conversation in a couple days about the applied liberal arts program that they have, which is, it's interesting, right? It's their version of kind of coming from that liberal arts side more towards the application side, right? Where we're moving maybe in some ways, right, from the application side more towards the human side, right, with InSciTE. And so somewhere in the middle, we're both moving towards some kind of mushy middle where there's interesting things to be done, right, at the intersection between humanity and technology, right, and scientific knowledge. And so I do think you'll probably see some things more like this coming out of different colleges. Also, I think cross collaboration, we deliberately started this kind of within the college so that we had some, we had a lot of say over how it grew and how it formed and the mission and how it was created. But, as that stabilizes and we're confident with the things that we're doing and the directions that we're going, we're very open to collaboration with people from across campus. And I know it's already starting. I mean, people are talking to me, they're talking to Aline. So I think you'll see this. And then just to add to the point that Willeen made during her presentation, I think the experience of being a student or being a faculty member who is teaching and learning in this mode will have kind of a halo effect in sort of affecting how you teach and learn outside of the InSciTE curriculum, right? When you go back to your other classes, right, in your home department or whatever it might be, you might start thinking in different ways as a faculty member, offering things in different ways, as a student demanding things in different ways, than you're getting right now. And that I hope will have a positive influence on CMU overall.
Thank you. Dr. Pangle, another question for you. What is one of maybe the biggest thing that you have learned since starting the first cohort? Is there anything that you would like to add moving forward, or anything you'd like to share that has changed significantly since cohort number 1?
Well, I think it's a hard question. I have many different answers I could give, but I think really it comes down to our students. I mean, the amount that they taught us and are continuing to teach us. I don't think I anticipated when we recruited our very first cohort. We landed on a model of recruitment over coffee. And so we thought, well, let's pay for coffee and talk with students about what InSciTE is, what we are hoping it is. And it turned into focus groups where students had no idea, but they were shaping the program because we were developing it as we were talking about it. And it's actually continued. The biggest changes we've made between teaching the first class the first time with our first cohort, and now I'm teaching it again with our new cohort, are all due to changes that like Morgan and Daniel have suggested. And so that student voice is incredibly strong. And I think I knew that by putting students in the center, something like this could happen, but I don't think I foresaw how much, and how much they're continuing to drive the process. And so our pioneer cohort is taking InSciTE right now, and we've already identified with them, they really need an outlet for they're writing papers. It's a writing intensive class. And so we're now exploring open access journals for undergrad STEM education, which there's not many of, where our students can, be the peer editors, the peer reviewers, put it together, collaborate with communication to put something right that actually they can be proud of. That's real. That's not, not that I want to call it a fake assignment, but like something just for the faculty, right? And the only people seeing the writing are faculty. How can we open that to the rest of the world a little bit? And I don't think any faculty involved, I don't think we anticipated open access journal from the get-go. And so, I really give it to our students. They are pushing us in all of the best ways. And when we empower them to see where they go, I think is quite incredible. And so the other answer that came to my head right away when you asked, like, what's the biggest change or surprise, is teaching the first course. I was so glad we are co-teaching. I didn't really mention that, but all our courses are co-taught so we can model collaboration professionally. And we all come from different STEM fields. And if we're saying it's interdisciplinary, we need interdisciplinary from the top. And I was so glad I had collaborators that could witness what I was seeing. So it wasn't just me making it up. And we kept looking at each other going, that really happened? Did they just create, I don't know, a classroom contract that was way better than what we could have written on our own or would anticipate? And it's all kind of like this. And if we're seeing right now where our second cohort is taking this and our students are just blowing it out of water. I mean, it's just incredible, the quality of the work they're doing as freshmen, as sophomores. I mean, you heard Morgan and Daniel talk, and they are second-year students that are having thought processes, I would argue, that are like my graduate students have. And so I think that's really probably the biggest takeaway. It's a very long answer, I'm sorry.
No, that was perfect. That's exactly, what everyone wants to hear and is excited to hear. I just want to say thank you so much, Dean Ford, Dr. Pangle, for your time today, and especially to Morgan and Daniel for being here. Thank you. We love to hear from our students, and any opportunity we get to share that with others is very exciting. So thank you everyone for being here for this campus conversation. Please check your emails for the recording and the slides and a survey that will be coming to you tomorrow. Enjoy the afternoon and fire up chips. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.